Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of VG Circle. Once again, I'm your host, Amcam, and we're back with our usual panel. To start things off this time around, we've been receiving a lot of comments and just suggestions to talk about Dark Irregulars. So I'll pass you guys on to our Dark Irregular expert, Dakari, and he'll get the ball rolling.
Hi.
It was just introduced this episode as well, guys. So.
Actually, technically, if you look back at one of the old vlogs, he was the one that was the camera stuff.
Vanguard Circle.
Yeah, this is introduction to the Vanguard Circle.
Okay. What am I talking about?
Hey,
well, a lot of people just wanted to hear about the new, all the new cards from Set 7. So, obviously, you being the one that's taken up that role, please give us an insight into the dark.
Watch the entire thing. Ren can't do it for nuts. Can't play Dark Irregulars.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of bad.
It was.
It was bad. Yeah. I looked at it and was, what the hell are you doing, Ren?
Calm down.
His opening turns were quite similar though to
His opening turns were okay.
Tetsu's.
Yeah.
Like the yellow ball play.
And then he's just sort of, okay, I just need to feel salt. Let's do all this weird shit.
Okay, well, going to that, right? A lot of people have been talking about Reggie as a deck style. What are your opinions on that?
Reggie's a deck style. It's feasible, very late game, and look, the problem with Reggie is you need 15 soul. 15 soul is pretty hard to get up. Now, the good thing about Reggie is when it comes down, you get to select one card in your rear guard and search your deck for up to 3 copies of it and send it to Sol. If you run Reggie as a main, generally you're going to want to ride it the first time you get it. It won't go off. Basically, you'll have very little rear guards, unless of course you've got a perfect set field, in which case it will never happen. Well, it will happen, but very rarely, and when you first ride it, so when you go from grade 2 to grade 3, you're not going to have a perfect field. If you do, then well done. But you're not going to have it, and you're going to be searching for cards that you probably want later on in the game. So there is that aspect. At the same time, pushing for 3 crits when you attack is devastating, but just remember that there are null guards. Null guards do exist, and at most, Reggie can probably swing for 20 without any triggers. That's basically the most he can swing for.
Well, 22 if you have the Demon Chariot grade 1.
Yeah, 22 if you have the Demon Chariot grade 1, and as I said again, that would be a perfect field, where you just have the 1, you don't have any in hand, just have the 1, you play it on the field, you ride Reggie, select that, and put all 3.
I just have a quick question. Is it possible to get to the 15 soul mid-game without using up too much resources?
Without using too much resources? It is possible, but that depends on what cards you want in the deck.
Okay.
So, for example, I found that you can mix Reggie quite well with No Life King Death Anchor, the card right here. The only problem is it's a PR card. It's available so far only in Japanese, and its ability is when it attacks, you can send 5 cards unflipped from your damage zone into Sol. That can quite quickly get you to 15. You just need to do it twice, and that gives it plus 10,000 plus 1 crit. So that's really threatening to your opponent. And you only need to do it twice, and you can ride Reggie and quite easily get the 3 crits every single turn.
Okay.
But again, you're also dealing with roughly about 20,000 damage. Sorry, 20,000 attack. And you're also going to go up against 10 and 11k, so that's very little that you have to worry about. Especially if they've got a null guard. Reggie's lineup, I would have to say you don't run crits at all. It would just be pure stands.
Interesting.
Well, if you run crits, you don't need to, because you're swinging for 3 crits basically every turn when you get Reggie's ability off.
Okay, so you're sort of like thinking.
So if you put in crits, then you're just trying to push your opponent more so, and again, you're swinging for 20, and the problem is 20 isn't that big anymore. 20 about, what was it, set 2? set 3 even, 20 was possibly the nice number to hit for. Now that we've got basically 11Ks across the board, there are some exceptions, but we've got a majority of 11Ks, and even with the limit breaks, it's not that much anymore.
Yep, I'll definitely agree with that. Though going back to how you build the deck with Reggie, going back to what you just talked about, my big issue with Reggie, and I did see a lot of comments and stuff like that about this, and I did, discuss. A lot of people arguing that, Reggie is a really good card and stuff like that. I agree, it's a good card.
It is a good card. There's no doubt about that.
I don't see it as something that you could base a deck around, because my view on it is, if you're basing a deck around it, you want to get Reggie off as soon as possible. And in order to get Reggie off as soon as possible, you're gonna have to play a lot of soul charge cards, which after you fill your deck up with those soul charge cards, what
less have you got?
Yeah. Actually, although I will say it is a late game card, but if you do have a deck that focuses primarily on Reggie, I would actually say you don't need to run as many soul charge cards as you think. I mean, sure, it's great to have Dark Soul Conductor when it goes from the Guardian Zone to the Drop Zone, Soul Charge 2.
Yep.
It's always a good one, especially with Blue Dust.
Yep.
It's always a good card. But you don't need to have as many Soul Charge cards as you might think, because again, you're hitting that sort of barrier of the 20k. And it doesn't seem that big, and I'm sure many of you will probably post saying, oh, 20k, who cares about that? 20k really scares your opponent, or I can easily get it off. That's not the problem. The problem is Reggie's ability only adds an extra 2 crits.
It doesn't add power.
It doesn't add power, it doesn't do anything like that. So, against 2000, against a simple 10k in the Vanguard, all they need is 15 or even 20k guard, and that's basically it. And if they've got an 11k Vanguard, then that's 15, and you need 2 triggers to get through. It puts pressure on your opponent, sure, but again, it doesn't add to the power. So if you are running a Reggie deck, might I suggest you have a look at During the Thruster, and particularly the Grade 2 Armon, Aspiring Demon Armon.
I love that. That's really good.
Always a good card, especially with Dark Irregulars. Have a look at those, and don't focus on soul charging, but don't forget that there are other cards that are quite good, especially Alluring Succubus, which is the Grade 1, and when set 7 comes out, you've also got Greedy Hand, which is always a good starting card for Reggie.
Yeah. I guess that just goes back to the whole issue you brought up with, knowing your clans, knowing what's out there.
Yeah.
Dark Irregulars now has a lot of options that they can exploit in terms of deck building.
Okay.
I think it's important to know all your cards. Although I will put one thing. I think as a community, a lot of the Vanguard players are very crit obsessed. So we're going to segue into this. You're noticing that as well, yeah? And you haven't even played for that long, it's very blatantly obvious. That was my big issue. Like, we talked about Dayusha last week, right? We're talking about Reggie this week. And there was another argument somebody brought up about 12 crits in the deck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, crit obsession I don't say it's a bad or good thing, but when it comes to crits being stacked on a unit, I honestly don't see much benefit. A lot of people might flame me for saying I don't like Reggie because of that fact, but the fact of the matter is, most of the time when you get off Reggie, it will be mid-late game.
Oh yeah,
it just doesn't affect.
By mid-late game,
You're expecting.
I would expect myself versus a Reggie deck to be already at 4 or 5 damage. So I'll already be at a point where a hit from the Vanguard is going to kill me. Sure, it stops the chances of heals coming off.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it doesn't make much game-breaking difference.
Yeah.
Our argument came, well, if your opponent is on 5 damage, then great, they're either shit or don't know what they're doing. Well, the fact is, if I'm versing a Reggie deck, I want to take the hits while I can take the hits.
Take the hits, yeah.
I'm not going to wait and think, oh, well, I have to guard it now because it's got 3 crits.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing I can do about it when I could have taken the damage early, saved my cards in hand.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Again, it comes to the point where you don't worry about how many crits are on it, you're going to be worried about the power and whether or not it's going to get through.
Exactly, and that's the thing with No Life King. I mean, you can use it to fuel soul, yes, but my argument is, what's the point? It's already getting 1 crit No Life King.
Yeah.
And it's getting the extra power
getting
boost,
the extra power boost.
which is a lot better than Reggie.
Yeah, because the extra power boost will force your opponents to use Null Guard, especially when it's hitting for about 33, which it can actually which is amazing because it doesn't do it late game as well. You can
do that early game if you take the damage early.
If you take the damage early and if you soul charge wisely, as in that's knowing when and when not to soul charge, not just soul charging at every opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with Dark Regulars. They primarily based on soul charge. Know when to soul charge. Just because you play Alluring Succubus doesn't mean you have to or should soul charge. Look at your soul, have a look at what's in there, try and think if you've got a whole bunch of triggers in your if you've got a whole bunch of triggers in your soul, then it's probably okay to soul charge, but then again you might soul charge another trigger.
It'll just push you further.
Which would just push you further behind.
Yeah.
So know when to soul charge, do it wisely.
I'm going to say this because I'm going to be saying this a lot on this panel.
Yeah.
Just because an ability is there doesn't mean you have to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when people talked about Coco and I said I'm going to use Promise Lord, and everyone was like, well, but you're going to be ditching a card from hand every time you use the effect. Well, the point is, as I said in the deck check, you don't have to use Promise Lord every turn. It's only
just
there
knows
as an
timing.
option.
Yeah.
A lot of effects in Vanguard require specific timing to be useful.
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't want to be using it every turn. Otherwise, you can neg
Oh,
yourself.
absolutely. Yeah, it's just like you're gonna burn up your whole hand, and you're just gonna take damage, and you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to.
So some of the other comments we've been receiving lately have been about angel feathers.
Hate angel feathers now. We don't hate angel feathers.
No, we like.
As like the comment said, do you hate? No, we don't hate angel feathers.
No, definitely not.
There's no time to be talking about angel feathers. You know, I can't talk about every clan every episode. That's not practical.
You want to?
No.
Yeah.
He wanted to talk about touchy cards though, so. I like to talk about oracles, and I often do force the conversation in that direction.
I don't know, I like dark, so I'm fine.
What are you gonna talk
But
about?
Tachikaze was my next point of interest.
Okay, well, I don't know, angel feathers. What do you think, Nathan?
I really like that introduction of the new grade 3.
Yeah, the
Shamshell.
Shamshell is really good.
Really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it generates the synergy that the deck needed. It combos nicely with their support so far. Obviously, the switching of cards now could be like more viable. Like before, you could like, oh, I'll get that later, and then it's like, oh crap, I can't get it back. But now with the limit break, you're guaranteed.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you get it every turn.
Yeah, you'll get it every turn, and as long as you can manage yourself, like guarding early actually seems a little bit more viable because when you take the damage later on, you'll be at a higher power. So like it makes it easy for yourself to guard. So I reckon actually guarding early with the Shamshell deck is actually quite more viable.
I just want to say this. Angel Feathers is not a deck that you can just pick up and play straight away.
Oh, I
No.
can play
It's like oracles.
It's actually a lot like Oracles. It might not look like it, but it is. You have to really think about what you're doing and when you do it.
I don't know, I want to talk about quickly. What do you think are the higher order thinking decks? What do you think are the lower order thinking decks?
That's always a tough one.
I think, believe it or not, but Spike Brothers is quite like you have to manage everything quite well.
Yeah, I know, it's very surprising because when you see Spike Brothers players, it
You
just
think
looks
it's just
like
like
they're
throwing
mindlessly
Yeah.
throwing.
Oh.
So plus.
And I will admit, that's how I play Spike Brothers, because it makes it more fun. But if I was a serious Spike Brothers player, Yeah, there is an element of, management of field, management of hand because they burn resources like crazy.
Yeah.
Management of counterblast because they use counterblast and
Like
they don't have
crazy.
enough. So, there's a lot to manage the spike rods. I actually think that's one that's like overlooked.
You have to be a grid
Thing is-
manager. That's
The thing is,
something.
all those points you mentioned about
make a
spike
trade-off.
runners, I find the exact same thing with Tachikaze now. Though now that I've played it for a long, long time, and
But it's good. The money.
Okay, fine. We'll talk
Fine, we'll talk about it.
especially with the introduction of Savage King with the comic style.
I think the most overlooked support ever. Like, Tachikaze's biggest supported, but it was only Savage King.
Yeah,
I think that
That's
was
not
like
true.
that.
You have the draw trigger PR.
yeah, but that's like the most expensive.
Yeah. Okay, this is what I think. Like, everybody seems to be forgetting. Okay, Tachikaze hasn't been supported since they came out.
Yeah.
They have. It's small, but they have. And the thing is, a lot of Tachikaze players has completely overlooked the existence of Savage King.
Savage King is actually a really, really good card to use, especially closer to late game. You basically just pair him up with 2 Gigarexes on the field, and every time you use Savage King's ability, it gives Gigarexes +1 every time you use it, and
Itself +3.
Yeah.
yeah, and,
Not to mention.
yeah, self +3. So
What will happen once Tachikaze gets another set of stand triggers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
there you go. I mean, I'm only hopeful that once they start announcing, cards from set 8, that they will be announcing, a new set of triggers for every single one.
I'm expecting.
I'm
that.
expecting a new
expecting
set
that.
of triggers for all the reintroduced clans. So Dimensional Police, Neo Nectar, and Tachi. I'm expecting a full set of triggers. Just going on what happened the last 2 sets.
Grandly, yeah, they got the
Grandly's
heal.
got it.
Dark Irregulars
Dark
got it.
Irregulars got it. Paleman's got it.
Paleman's got it as well.
Yeah, so since these are being introduced, I'm pretty sure we're going to get that, which is good because my Neo Nectar needs more stands.
It does.
Yes.
Sexy plants.
Yeah, that was a nice way to end that last part.
Okay.
Awkward.
Now, probably the big thing we're going to be talking about this video is about clan mixing.
Oh, okay.
One of the commenters on our YouTube channel, Runner King 08, brought it up, asking, "What do you think? What do we think about clan mixing? If it's a good or a bad idea? And do you think the game needs anything else in order to achieve better clan mixing?"
What do you think?
At the moment, I'm fairly indifferent because I've only started actually looking into clan mixing. I'm still, what I want to do is Tachikaze and another clan, and I'm still trying to figure out which clan would work well with Tachi. But you guys might have a little bit more, suggestions for whole clan mixing.
Well, in terms of clan mixing, there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do. My personal favorite clan to mix with almost everything is Mega Colony. Not because I love Mega Colony, because I do, but Lady Bomb Karma Queen in a deck that doesn't utilize Counterblast. They don't require specific Vanguard. You lock down the unit, and it can be a big hindrance to the opponent, especially when they're not expecting something like that. Other noteworthy things was before Coco got her support, Blackie was very viable to play. I know a lot of you people have been suggesting me to play Blackie in my Coco deck, but here's my view on it. Blackie is a -1 once you play it. You Soul Blast, so you neg yourself 1 soul, which can be a good thing, but you send him back to deck. Not only is it a -1 from hand, it clogs your deck up with stuff you potentially don't actually want to see.
Yeah.
On top of that, Lulu's ability, when it gets pulled back, it has to Soul Blast 2 oracles. So if I'm forced to ride Blackie, that kind of sticks it in there permanently. And, as a last point quickly, everything Blackie does, Promise Daughter does, but it doesn't return back to deck. I am minusing myself 1 from hand, but I get to choose what the minus is. It could be a grade 3 that I don't need.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be the Imperial Daughter if I don't need it in this situation.
It could be just a simple draw trigger.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Anything to add, guys?
Oh, well, just noteworthy ones, obviously, everyone's favourite, Mr. Invincible Overlord.
Mr. Invincible Overlord.
yes.
That dominated the meta back then.
Oh, it was so popular.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you people somebody like make a video response or something. I want to see Mr. Invincible used in a mixed deck, like really
The
well.
card's
The card is amazing.
really good.
It's a Mega Blast, sure, but it unflips damage, so you can spam Counter Blast
And
with the
still-
with the potential of still using Mega Blast.
So like, just use that 3-2 counter blast
It stands all units,
early, and then,
including the Vanguard, and it doesn't have to hit the Vanguard. So if your opponent has a Silent Tom there, oh look, Invincible with a
AK
Tough
support,
Boy
yeah.
or any AK support behind it, swing into it, you know? Good card. So I want to see something, some responses of some sort. That would be pretty cool.
Just creative, like response to.
Well, with mixing, we did do one thing, right?
Oh.
Well, not Pendragon.
Well, not Pendragon.
But Soul
Soul
Saber
Saber.
Dragon with Tsukiyomi, we did do that a while ago. Deck was good,
It's really
like
interesting.
surprisingly
It's, like,
very
really
stable.
Nice.
Yeah. So the idea is you run the right chain to get your pluses.
Yeah.
You get the soul. You can Soul Saber at any opportunity. On top of that, with the stacking kind of thing,
Time it with Soul Saber, and it's just like it's just gonna push for absolute gain.
if your opponent doesn't have any null cards in hand, they need at least 8 cards in hand, and that is a requirement that all of them be 10k. So, card's good. Though, like, not early timing it at the same time. Even a Soul Saver the turn before a stack to knock down the
yeah.
defenses. A Soul Saver after the stack, if your opponent's smart enough to anticipate it. You know, they're two devastating things that can happen. And there have been times when I have so much soul because I was fortunate enough to be soul charging oracles that I used the Full Moon's ability and got soul Saver twice in a row.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So the deck has a lot of options, and on that note, Soul Guiding Elf was probably my favorite card. I wish Oracles got a clone of that. I really do wish that we had an Iron Tail Dragon, Erotic Popcorn, Soul Guiding Elf. Make it happen, Bushiro. Are there any mixing ideas that you?
No, the only real mixing I've attempted was Dark Irregulars with Royal Paladins, and that actually worked quite well.
Yeah, I remember that. That was before Royal Paladins got their support.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually quite good.
So a similar concept, right?
Yeah,
You know, you were running your
it was Gallatin.
Galahad.
Sorry,
the
not
Galahad. You were
Galahad.
running the Galahad.
The
With
Galahad right
the,
chain.
what Dark Irregular were you using? Was it Vampire?
It was
Or Demon?
Amon.
Amon.
No.
Because Amon needed the
No, it was
I was sure it was
still
a
I
Vampire.
thought it was still.
Yeah, it was a still.
It was still Vampire
Yeah.
with I've got a name, Demon Eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that worked.
Just to
Mega
generate the
Blast.
soul.
Yeah, exactly the same concept as this one, you know. The right chain generates a soul. And you knock down the defenses with Counter Blast of Galahad. Galahad. And then the next turn you pull off a Vampire or a Demon Eater and just devastate.
Yeah,
them.
it just damn
It's crazy.
it did. It was
It was,
fun.
yeah.
Very, very big. Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you can be bothered like looking into it and being bothered to think about your deck very carefully.
I honestly think that mixing is something that needs to be done by every Vanguard player at least once.
Yeah.
Because it really gives a better understanding of the game in terms of, you know, what is out there you can use. Again, coming back to the point that you made, Cam, last week. Know your cards, know your clan.
Try playing all of them, guys.
Try everything. Like for Oracles, I even had a stage where I was using Faithful Angel. And while it was bad, I know what's good and bad about that card. Mostly bad. So,
It gives you a better
It
insight
gives-
into
it
the
does, it
game
gives
and
you
the
a better
cards,
insight,
as
yeah.
well as your clan. Particularly if you play a card that you dismissed early on.
Yeah.
If you just dismiss cards, you're never going to see what's so bad about them or why you hate it.
Yeah, like you'll just see someone like come along one day, they'll be playing it, and then it'll just absolutely like devastate you, and you'll just be like, oh, just use it in a way that you've never foreseen, and it'll just like surprise you and catch you off guard. Like it's happened to me plenty of times. I've done it to people plenty of times. It's just
You've done it to people a lot of times.
yep.
But yeah, it's just really interesting just to see everything else that's out there. So just try and make something yourself.
Also, try and play against your own clan as much as possible. That's what I'll say, because
A lot
different
of-
people have different takes on the same card.
That is actually a good point.
I'm
Yeah,
also
play
Dark
play
Irregulars.
against the players that use the same clan you do. Yeah, because like he said, you know, they might play differently, they might play better than you. So
Yeah,
if anything, it's always a learning experience when you do play mirror clan matches.
I've always said, no matter how crap the player is,
You can always
you can always learn something from them. They always have something about their mindset that may surprise you. It might be the littlest thing about the game, but no matter how crap the player is, they always have a play of some sort that you can learn. Give it a shot.
Also, if you guys have any suggestions of clan mixing and why you think they might work, you know, leave a video response or a comment in our comment section below the table.
Yep.
Or if there's something you want to see us play or do, we'll have a look into it as well.
And if there's any lore you want to see for Know Your Vanguard, you can also type about that.
Also, here you go. Here's something for you. Here's something I want to get you guys to do for me. Since I've started playing Vanguard, I've only played one clan and one clan only. So if you guys have suggestions, you know, I will take majority vote of what you guys tell me to play, and I will look into it, and I will make my own video on my own about it, and see what information I can garner from that clan on my own.
An AmCam deck check.
So yeah,
Oh.
an AmCam deck check. So a noob will go through a clan that he's never played before, and I will put it up on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Alright.
There you go, guys. You get to see more of Amcam. Whoa.
He gets to keep his hosting job.
Wait, gets to keep. I don't know.
You're out.
Anyway, guys, we don't play.
I don't think, yeah.
Jack, not YouTube.
Anyway, guys, that's all we've got for this episode of the VG Circle. I'm your host Amcam, and this is the VGcasters panel.
Yep.
We'll see you next video.
See you then.
Out.
That's mine.
It's mine.
Mine.
Fine, then play for them.
Bring it.
Junk in the pond. I call the show. I call the show. I call the show. Yes.
Circle.
My Vanguard.
That's right. That's mine. No, it's mine. It's mine.
You killed my Stardust Trumpeter. You serious?
You're joking.
What? That was everyone's.
This last episode. There's people are gonna be like, why didn't this person talk? Is it idiot? That's what happened to him. This is what happened to him.
I want to hear more
Fucking
from
viewers.
Amcam.
I want to hear more stuff from Amcam. Why wasn't he talking?
Because I was busy looking at my cupcake, bitch.
To make it sound normal.
Freaking put these cards away.
Stardust Trumpeter on top.
Okay, cool. Can we?
Yeah. I don't know, what are we doing? I have no idea what I'm doing with the cake. Hi guys, and welcome to the first MA 15 plus episode of VG Circle.
Can you not? No. Do it properly.
VGcasters.
Well, we'll just be ignorant. I'll be like, I didn't know that he was watching.
Coarse language. Viewing is recommended by mature audiences.
GTFO, guys.
Is that like the new Grand Theft Auto game?
Oh yeah! Grand Theft. Featuring
Outtakes.
outtakes.